Humans are the only species intelligent enough to understand exactly what is ruining them, and yet we keep doing it anyway. Every day, we knowingly sabotage our sleep, erode our attention spans, and compromise our own mental stability. The average person touches their phone over 2,600 times a day. Globally, adults now spend more than 6 hours online daily. A huge percentage of human life is no longer just influenced by technology, it is spent entirely inside these digital environments. We usually label this behavior as laziness or a lack of discipline. In reality, our brains are responding to a hidden biological imperative. The human brain did not evolve for happiness, peace, or long-term fulfillment. It evolved for one specific, rigid purpose: survival. When you take an ancient psychology wired to dodge predators and drop it into a hyper-modern environment, it begins to behave in highly irrational ways. Take procrastination. It's rarely the result of being lazy. Procrastination is actually a biological response to task-related stress. When a project creates discomfort, your brain treats that feeling as a threat. To find immediate relief, it forces an escape. You start scrolling, watching videos, or cleaning the kitchen, anything that temporarily removes that emotional pressure. In the short term, this avoidance works. The stress drops, which neurologically rewards the brain for escaping. But the long-term result is chronic anxiety. Your brain is actively sacrificing your future stability just to protect its present emotional state. Modern tech platforms exploit this desire for relief using something called variable reward systems. This diagram shows how it works. On the left is a predictable loop. Action leads to a known result. On the right is a variable reward loop, where every action results in a randomized payout. It's the psychological principle of a slot machine. Because you never know when the next reward will appear, your brain keeps swiping, turning engagement into a neurological habit. The global data is staggering. TikTok users average around 95 minutes on the app daily, while some Gen Z users spend up to 6 hours consuming short-form content across platforms. This volume of rapid consumption physically weakens the ability to sustain attention. It makes focusing on slower tasks, like reading or studying, feel increasingly difficult. The brain adapts to constant, extreme novelty. Once that becomes the baseline, normal life starts feeling emotionally understimulating. This survival wiring also explains why people stay in miserable situations, like toxic relationships or jobs they hate. Our threat detection systems prioritize predictability above all else. The brain registers familiar pain as biologically safer than the threat of uncertain change. To these survival systems, misery is predictable, and predictability is safety. Childhood instability compounds this, permanently adapting the brain to chaos. For some, calmness feels unfamiliar and peace feels suspicious. We unconsciously recreate our own suffering because our outdated threat detection systems are terrified of the unknown. Social media supercharges this by feeding the brain idealized, perfect versions of other people's lives. Processing thousands of these signals daily creates a baseline of inadequacy and depressive symptoms. This inadequacy triggers emotional discomfort, which forces the survival brain back into the escapism of doomscrolling to find relief, locking the user in a permanent loop. The human brain is not evil. It is not broken or inherently lazy. It is simply an outdated operating system. We have an ancient psychology designed to dodge predators, currently forced to interact with infinite dopamine and algorithmic overload. However, the brain can physically rewire itself based on its environment and behaviors. This is a biological process that only happens through endless repetition, not sudden bursts of motivation. The solutions that work are usually boring, reducing constant stimulation, protecting our sleep, and intentionally allowing boredom again. For the first time in history, survival doesn't mean protecting ourselves from nature. It means actively protecting our brains from the hyper-stimulating environment we built for ourselves.